Okay, year 5, let's try with this video again. I've remembered to press play this time, so that's a very good start. So our learning objective is to read and write decimal numbers as fractions. Now, we know that we set out our place value chart. We normally do it in thousands, hundreds, tens and ones. And that's how we've always set out our place value headings. We've learnt in year 5 that after the ones we put a decimal point. And after that, our next place value is 1/10. And sometimes we just write it as a small t. But the next place value heading is a tenth. The next place value is 100th, like that. And then the next place value heading, which we haven't talked about very much, is 1,000th. And it carries on, and each of these are a smaller fraction. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually you get up to a millionth and a billionth, carry on and on. You know these are smaller because a tenth is splitting up something into 10 equal parts, whereas 100th is splitting something up into 100 parts, so each part is going to be smaller. And 1,000th is splitting up things into 1,000 parts, so that's going to be even smaller. Okay, so let's have a look at some numbers that we definitely know. So if we're trying to write, let's see, 7/10 onto our place value chart. Okay, so we can see that our denominator is 10. So we're going to be writing the 7 under the tenths column. All right, so we write the 7 under the tenths column. At the moment, it looks like 7 whole ones. We have to remember to put in the 0 underneath the ones, the decimal point, and the 7 underneath the tenths. So 7/10 is equivalent to 0.7. Okay, those two are equivalent. And let's try a slightly hard one. Let's try 27 hundredths. Okay, so there we are, 27 hundredths. And when I'm writing these fractions, I am lining up the digits. Okay, so the last 2 digits I'm lining up, then the next 2, and then the next one. So that will help you. It will help you if you line up the digits really carefully. Okay, now then, I can see that in this fraction, I've got hundredths underneath here. And if I look above the last 0 of the hundredths, I've got a 7. So I know straight away that I can put 7th in my hundredths column. So I'm going to go up to my place value chart and I'm going to put 7 in my hundredths column, like that. Okay. Now then, this is a clever little thing. You know how much I like maths. It works so nicely. If I cross off my 7 and my hundredth 0, I've now made the fraction 2/10. That's not the clearest 2 in the world. Let's make it a little bit clearer. 2/10. So I'm going to write that in my tenths column. Here's my tenths column. There. I know that I need to write in the 0 point. So I've now made 0.27. So I'm going to have to write this again now because I've crossed bits out. 27 hundredths is equivalent to, let's just have a look up here again, 0.27. 27 hundredths is equal to 0.27. Now let's try one with thousandths. Let's do 349 thousandths. And again, I'm going to line up the denominator really carefully with the end of the numerator and line them up nicely there. Now I can see that I've got 9 thousandths. My last digit is 9 thousandths. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to put a 9 in my thousandth column. There we are. And I'm going to cross the 9 out. And I'm going to cross the 0 out underneath it. Now, I've got 100 as my denominator. And I've got 4 hundredths. So I'm going to go up and look at my hundreds. And I'm going to put 4 in my 100 column. And then I'm going to come back down. I'm going to cross the 4 off. I'm going to cross that 0 off. Now I can say I've got 3 tenths. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to write a 3 in my tenths column. Okay, now we know we have to put the 0 in as a placeholder. So I've made 0.349. So if I write this out again neatly, underneath here, 349 thousandths equals, let's just have a look up here again, 0.349. Okay, so I'm going to write that in here, 0.349. And you might be able to see that the 349 is there and the 349 is there. But if we go through it slowly like that, we cannot get it wrong. Okay? What about it having a 0 in? Okay, if there's a 0 somewhere in here, let's put it in the middle. So let's have 503 thousandths. So my denominator will be thousands and my numerator is 503. Okay, so let's start again at the thousandths. Remember, this is thousandths with a th. It's not thousand, it's thousandths because it's a fraction. Okay, so I've got 3 thousandths. So I'm going to come up to my thousandths column and I'm going to write a 3 in it like that. Okay, and then I'm going to cross that 3 out and cross the 0 out. Now I can see I've got a denominator of 100. And I've got no hundreds, 0 hundredths. If I look carefully, I've got 0 hundredths. So I'm going to put a 0 in my hundredths column. You see, there's the hundredths column, and I had nothing in it. Okay, that's really important that you put that 0 in. Cross the 0 underneath it. Now I can see I've got 5 tenths left. So 5 tenths is one of the easy ones. It goes underneath the tenths column, like that. I know I need to remember the decimal point, and I know there we go, there's a 0 in my ones column. I haven't needed the thousands, the hundreds, and the tens in all of this work, so you don't really need to write them out, okay? You just need the ones, tenths, hundreds, and thousandths, okay? And now you have, I don't think I wrote this one out, did I? Let's do 503 thousandths. There we go. Then my denominator is thousandths. And I found that it was naught, no whole ones, 0.503. And you might notice that 503 is the same as 503. Okay? So what your sheet asks you to do is, and I have got the answer sheet here. The first sheet asks you to join up the fractions with a straight line. Okay, so look at the fraction cloud and join it up with its equivalent fraction. Okay, so that one's nice and easy, and there's a whole page of those and they should all line up nicely. The next one, you have to convert the decimal number into a fraction. Okay, so don't leave it as 0.43. Change it to its fraction. Okay, so that's 43 hundredths. All right, so change that fraction and then find where it will go on the line. Okay, so it will go just after 0.4, 0.43, 0.43 goes after 0.4, and it goes 3 hundredths after 0.4. So 1, 2, 3. It goes 3 hundredths, and you are going to write it as its fraction. You're not going to write the decimal, you're going to write the fraction. Okay, now I did tell you that the last one was really, really difficult. These numbers were not in originally. These we had to find out for ourselves. Okay, each of those rows adds up to one whole one, and each of these columns adds up to one whole one. And you can prove that by changing them either into fractions or into decimals. It doesn't matter. Let's change the 0.1 into a 2 tenths, add 1 tenth, add 7 tenths. And you can see here, remember when we add decimals, we add fractions together. If they've got the same denominator, then all we need to do is add the numerators together. 7 add 2 add 1 is 10. So we've got 10 over 10. If you've got the same numerator as the denominator, it equals 1. So let's go down to this next one. 0.3 is 3 tenths. 6 tenths we can leave as it is, and 0.1 is 1 tenth. The denominators are all the same, so I just have to add 3, 6 makes 9, and 1 more makes 10. If the denominator is the same as the numerator, it equals 1. Okay, now then, some of them have hundredths in. This one has hundredths, so I'm going to change this into hundredths. So the first one, 75 hundredths. The next one is 15 hundredths. Okay, and there was a missing number there. They've put 1 tenth there. Now then, 1 tenth. Remember, you can always make things 10 times bigger. Remember that, you can make 10 times bigger, so I'm going to make that 10 times bigger. Instead of 1 tenth, I'm going to make it 10 hundredths. Those are equivalent fractions. If I take off the 0 and the 0, it's 1 tenth. If I add the zeros, I'm making them 10 times bigger, and that's equivalent to 1 tenth. Okay? If I add the the denominators are all the same now. That's important that you make the denominators all the same. And then add up the numerators, 75, 85, 90, 100. 100 over 100. If the numerator is the same as the denominator, then it equals 1. Okay, so if you just screenshotted that, you will have got the first 2 answers. Have a go at the ones you can do. Please have a go. Have a go. And send me in what you've got. Okay, thank you.